Hello and welcome back to my humble show. I am your host for today and every other day, the Articulate Thinker, hopefully, here to bring you art articles and articulation straight from Articulation Station, so be sure to like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Don't forget to turn on those bell notifications while you're at it. If you like it, put a ring on it. Sharing is caring. All that other good stuff, as per usual. And as per usual, I'm on my lunch break right now. Don't have a lot of time. Don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to share this with you. This is a live stream on the Fox News YouTube account, as you can see on my screen. The title of the live stream is Live, House to Vote on Whether to Oust Speaker McCarthy. This is a very weird dynamic, I must say. And I don't have too much to say about this, honestly, because I'm not all that sure how I feel about it, ultimately. Matt Gaetz is, and then everyone on the other side, which is most of the Republicans, they're sure that they support Kevin McCarthy. I don't want to say somewhere in the middle, but I just feel that this is a very divisive process. Will it ultimately unify the Republican Party more? It's possible. But for the people who say, in response to the question of, well, who exactly is going to replace Kevin McCarthy? What could be worse? The question remains. I mean, just saying, we're just answering, what could be worse, doesn't prove that something is going to be better, that there is someone else who will do better than Kevin McCarthy. So I'm just not really buying anyone's arguments at this point. It sounds like one big clown show to me, whether it's Kevin McCarthy, who you see on the screen right now. And yes, this is live, but I'm not going to play the audio because I have to go soon, and I don't want to pick it up and drop it like it's hot in the spur of the moment. I haven't been able to keep up with all of it, but I have caught a few clips along the way. I did see Thomas Massie speaking up against the attempt to oust Kevin McCarthy from the speaker seat a few minutes ago. Fiery speech by Thomas Massie. Jim Jordan, another congressman who is generally in agreement with Matt Gaetz on things. So, to add to the weirdness of the dynamic, you know, before they get to this vote on whether to oust Speaker McCarthy, they've had this motion to table the motion to remove Kevin McCarthy. In other words, they took a motion on a motion. They're like, should we table or kill this upcoming motion to remove Kevin McCarthy? A motion on a motion, right? So here are the results from the motion on a motion. Yeah. So Matt Gaetz and 10 others voted nay on tabling or killing the motion to remove Kevin McCarthy because they want to see it through. So you might think, well, 11 versus 28 in regards to the Republicans. Matt Gaetz is on the losing end of that. However, 207 Democrats voted with Matt Gaetz. All right, so it's complicated because one of the issues that Matt Gaetz and the others have with Matt Gaetz is that he is supposedly dancing on the strings of the Democrats. But in order to get rid of Kevin McCarthy, the same Matt Gaetz and others, he's just leading the charge, they have to work with, not directly, but indirectly, the same Democrats whom they oppose in order to oust Kevin McCarthy. So is that hypocritical, or is it just a necessary compromise, in a sense, in order to arrive at the greater good, whatever that greater good is? Matt Gaetz insists that Kevin McCarthy, since picking up the speaker seat in the first place, has failed to keep his promises. Jim Jordan actually disagrees. He says that Kevin McCarthy has kept his promises. Which is the cooler head and which one will prevail? Only time will tell. But I just can't tell at this point, and it does sound personal coming from Matt Gaetz. It sounds like he has a personal beef with Kevin McCarthy. He also says that Kevin McCarthy has been working with Joe Biden behind the scenes to cut a deal on funding Ukraine, and there was a lot of debate on that in regards to this CR, continuing resolution, that just passed through the House and the Senate, so on and so forth, over funding. Matt Gaetz wants to separate everything into its own separate package and vote on it that way, and I agree with that. I think that the spending is out of control, and I support Matt Gaetz in theory, theoretically speaking, in what he says he wants from Congress and government as a whole. But I just don't know that it's going to work out quite as well as he wants it to, and I don't even know who I trust on this, because I've never trusted Matt Gaetz. He seems like a bit of a drama king to me. He seems like a member of the squad of the right, I might add. So I've never really had a particular favoritism for him. Neither have I for Kevin McCarthy. So I'm not picking sides. It's not personal for me. I mean, they're supposed to be on the same side. It's supposed to be a unified party, but it's not. And I guess that's the problem here, or maybe that's the solution here. Maybe the solution is in them being more divided so they can arrive at that greater good, as I said, as they should, but I just don't know that this is the way to accomplish that. It seems to me that this could very well set them back even further. It's one of those detrimental, shot to own foot type of gambles, because this just puts more power in the hands of the Democrats, who Matt Gaetz presumably ultimately opposes even more so than he opposes Kevin McCarthy. Right? The whole point of this is to prevent Republicans from dancing on the puppet strings of the puppet masters over in the White House, or just across the aisle in the Democrat Party. I myself am not a Democrat, but this is ripe for picking for the Democrats. Yeah, because it is clown world on another level right now. You have Republicans bickering back and forth. It's not even an across-the-aisle thing. I mean, members of the same party just bickering back and forth. It's basically Matt Gaetz versus the world. I mean, some others, obviously, 10 others are behind him on this, as are the Democrats, but the Democrats just get to keep their mouths shut and watch it all play out. And you have everyone in the White House talking about how they're just not doing their job. They can't even get along with each other. I'm all for diversity of opinion, but I don't know that this is all that well thought out, especially if you literally don't even know who you want to replace Kevin McCarthy. And if your response is, as I already mentioned, well, no one could do a worse job, think again. They could. Okay? Considering how most of the Republicans are very much on board with Kevin McCarthy, there might be something to suggest that he has done at least an alright job. I'm not saying it couldn't be better. I mean, we've been on the verge of government shutdown. That's a great talking point for the Democrats, for the White House. And who's to blame for that? Well, in part, Matt Gaetz. But because it's in the party of Kevin McCarthy, Democrats in the White House get to blame Kevin McCarthy. And so you got the Democrat Party attacking Kevin McCarthy, which is understandable, especially considering he has initiated an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden himself. And you have the likes of Matt Gaetz also going after Kevin McCarthy. And if the vote to remove Kevin McCarthy goes in the same way that the vote to table the motion to remove Kevin McCarthy has gone, well, it looks like Kevin McCarthy could, in short order, be up and out of there. And unless things change, I don't know who is convincing who of what exactly at this point, but just look at the votes, if you can see them on the screen. Overall, 208 yays to table or kill the motion to remove Kevin McCarthy. 218 nays. Nay. They're doing an awful lot of horsing around right now. That's for sure. That is for sure. And you might completely disagree with me, and that's fine. I'm not all that conclusive in my comments. Either way, I haven't said a whole lot about this because I don't know exactly what to say about it. Everybody has their point. I'm just not sure which is the sharpest at this point. I'm not. So, man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Backing up a little bit. That image, that screenshot came from C-SPAN. House defeats motion to table or kill Representative Matt Gaetz' motion to oust Speaker McCarthy. And they are still giving their speeches right now, their stump speeches. I'm not sure how long that's going to go on, but in a short amount of time, I believe there is going to be a vote. And then we will know for once and for all whether or not Kevin McCarthy will be sticking around, at least for a little while longer. So maybe that's not for once and for all. But here's what I had to say. What a weird dynamic currently afoot in the House. And this from Alexei Salvi, who lists the names of the Republicans who voted no or nay. Biggs, Buck, Burchett, Crane, Davidson, Gaetz, of course, Good, Mace, Mills, Rosendale, Sparts. And by the way, Matt Gaetz says that he doesn't intend to be the Speaker of the House. Now, if it was up for grabs, he might change his mind. I can't speak for him on that. And maybe his intentions are good. I would hope they are. Maybe Kevin McCarthy's intentions are good. I started speaking about this deal between Joe Biden and Kevin McCarthy, essentially, that Matt Gaetz keeps referencing. And Karine Jean-Pierre has been asked about this in White House press briefings as well because of something Joe Biden said a couple of days ago. He basically implied that he and Kevin McCarthy, or leadership in the House, were working on a deal to fund Ukraine in the future. You know, the specifics. I can't get into all of that. But that has been used by Matt Gaetz to say, oh, they are letting us all down. They are working behind the scenes in a shady way to spend more taxpayer dollars in one way or another on Ukraine, on a war in Ukraine. I don't know if that's true. I mean, Karine Jean-Pierre, for one, won't say conclusively whether or not they've worked on a deal. She just keeps deflecting, dodging the questions. So I get the talking point coming from Matt Gaetz, but I guess his problem is also that most of the Republicans still support funding Ukraine. So when he speaks about it, he gets booed. And when the Republicans speak in opposition to him, they get applauded. Thomas Massie got applauded. Jim Jordan got applauded. All these other Republicans who are siding with Kevin McCarthy are getting applauded. And I think a lot of the division among the Republican ranks comes from the disagreement on whether or not Ukraine should be funded indefinitely. That's a definite question. I mean, a question that's definitely worth asking. And that's another answer that I'm just not sure about myself. Another thing that I don't speak about all that much because a lot of stuff is up in the air for me. I don't claim to have an absolute answer for everything. And I listen to all these people on both sides of the argument, or any number of sides of the argument. More sides than a stop sign, but mostly two, or just one if you want to talk about the uniparty, or the deep state, or whatever you want to call it. I kind of get lost in all of it, and I hear everyone with such certainty speaking on these issues, and I'm like, okay, that's a good point. That's also a good point. That's another good point way over there, and this is a good point. And I try to make points of my own, but I'm just lost at this point. But we'll see where this goes. All right, I'm back. Had to put a pause on that. My wife came home for lunch for a little while. I wasn't actually sure of that until I heard her coming up to the door of the spare room. Yeah, she doesn't usually come home on her lunch break, so it kind of surprised me. a sweet surprise, I must say. Anyways, what was I saying? I got to go back to work here in a few minutes. I don't want to waste too much of your time on this. I know the results aren't all in. There's going to be a motion in the near future, vote in the near future, and we'll see for once and for all, or at least for now, whether or not Kevin McCarthy will remain in his seat. I don't know exactly all the legal implications of this or ramifications, how long the seat will be vacated, or who will replace it. I'm not sure that anyone has really thought all of this through at this point. But I could be convinced in any particular direction because I can make the connection with various members of Congress. I just feel that it's a bit of a clown show overall. And it seems like everyone is doing everything on either a personal basis or a political basis. And that's the thing with Matt Gaetz, for example. He says, no, it's not personal at all. But then when he speaks, it's clearly personal. You know, even if it's because he sees Kevin McCarthy as having lied to him, it's clearly personal. But what's the alternative to that? Political. Okay, your reasoning is political. My reasoning is purely political. It's not personal. It's political. It's one or the other. And either way leaves such room for bad intentions. But I don't even know that anyone here has bad intentions. So it could just be the overall corruption of Congress, or at least government, or at least politics as a whole, that just kind of makes everyone seem or sound a bit corrupt in a sense. But yeah, the chamber will move forward with a vote on whether McCarthy should lose his position. If I've missed a step in this process, fill me in on that, because I only know so much. I can only keep up with so much of this, and I haven't come to much of a conclusion at this point. But it may sound like I have, seeing as how I've shared quite a few thoughts here. I'm just trying to be as balanced as possible. And so far, I feel that the only party benefiting from this are the Democrats, because they love low-hanging fruit, because that's the only fruit they can actually grab. You know, because their standards are so low. If you know what I mean. I see clapping.
Gentleman yields back his time. The gentleman from Florida is recognized with 3 minutes remaining.
To be clear, I tried to get one of the three podiums on the Republican side, and y'all wouldn't let me have them, so you sent me over here. But you know what? I'll make this argument at any desk in this building, from the well, from the chair. I'll make it on every street corner in this country that Washington must change. We have to break the cycle. We have to break the fever. And I would hope, truly, that the reforms that we are fighting for are reforms that would last and be embraced, and that would democratize power in this institution beyond the privileged few who back us up against shutdown politics and Christmases and deadlines in order to achieve their objectives. Mr. Speaker, high inflation is on the verge of bankrupting American families. Our economy is breaking in half. A typical American family can't afford to buy a house in 99% of U.S. counties.
Sad but true. I don't want to play through too much of this, but I'll let him go for a moment. Keep in mind that he has been trying to prevent Kevin McCarthy from being the Speaker of the House since before Kevin McCarthy became Speaker of the House. He led the, I don't want to call them attacks, but the efforts to prevent Kevin McCarthy from becoming Speaker in the first place, as I just mentioned.
Their families, and we have a greater opportunity to do that and to build coalitions under new leadership. We have to rip off the Band-Aid. We have to get back on a better course. And Mr. Speaker, I don't know how this vote's going to go. Usually when a vote comes to this floor, it's pretty predetermined. And this one, I'm not so sure. But I am sure that we've made the right argument, that this place deserves single-subject spending bills, that we should have 72 hours to read a bill, that something that spends more than $100 million shouldn't be put on the suspension agenda such that we can't amend it, and there shouldn't be secret side deals made on a continuing resolution to lump Ukraine in with border security. That is not right for Ukraine or border security, because it fails to give either of those issues the dignity that they would require. But we can return that dignity to this House. We can get back on a better path. We can have single subject appropriations bills. We can set a budget top line. We haven't had a budget in this place since I was in high school. So let's get a budget. Let's get our act together. Let's get on with it. Let's vacate the chair, and let's get a better speaker. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back his time.
Notice how no one is clapping for him, but that's because the Democrats aren't going to clap for him, even though they'll vote for him or with him in order to get rid of Kevin McCarthy, because they prey on the division of the Republican Party. But the Republicans, most of the Republicans, are in agreement with Kevin McCarthy. They side with the Speaker of the House on this one. I'm not saying they should, not saying they shouldn't, not saying I would, not saying I wouldn't. I'm glad I'm not there. I'll say that much. I agree with Kevin McCarthy on a lot of things. I agree with Matt Gaetz on a lot of things, including what he was just saying about the goals which he wants to aim for and accomplish. But how does this accomplish that? That's what I would like to know. It seems like this might set them back even further. And he himself and the others cannot even explain the benefit of this, the actual benefit of this. They just frame Kevin McCarthy's actions, statements, as very negative. His business dealings with the Biden administration, his deal cutting, which I can't even figure out the positives and negatives of because the Republicans are in such disagreement on them. But I know there are right-wing extremists, as the White House likes to refer to them as, who interestingly enough, they want to get rid of the Speaker of the House. They want to vacate that seat, that particular seat. To what end exactly? I don't know, but it does give the Democrats a reason to call them right-wing extremists or MAGA extremists, while simultaneously voting with those same individuals. Am I getting this right? So you had the White House day after day after day saying these individuals, they're holding up this, they're holding up that because of their animosity towards their Speaker of the House. They can't get their act together. They're extremists. Extreme MAGA this, extreme MAGA that. But then when those same Republicans, extreme MAGA Republicans, make these motions, take these votes on Kevin McCarthy, on getting rid of Kevin McCarthy, don't those Democrats, the same Democrats, or at least the ones who are not in the White House, but in Congress, don't they then vote alongside these same Republicans who they've just been vilifying in order to get rid of Kevin McCarthy in a way that divides the Republican Party even more, in a way that will prevent further legislation from passing? Did I interpret all of that correctly, or did I really just divulge into absolute confusion or insanity? Am I insane in the membrane? I don't know. What do you know? Let me know in the comments below what you think, what you know. I gotta go back to work. Yeah. I know this is a bit random, and there will be more to say about this later, as soon as more results roll in. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, here's one last look at this this vote total. But there will be another one to come. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Keep in touch. Keep in tune. New content is coming soon. Peace.